Hello and welcome to week 5, the final week of AC1520 Managerial Accounting and Decision Making. This is week 5, so if you run into any time constraints or you need to catch up on anything, this is the week to do it. We cannot generally have any makeup work after the close of week 5, so Sunday as of week 5, that's when we need to have everything in. If there are problems, however, note that the grades are going to be out of my hands by Tuesday night of week 5, therefore, get to me as soon as possible if there's any problems or questions before that time, and we can address them at that time. After Tuesday night, it's a lot more difficult for us to address any questions. So just keep communication in the final week and make sure that we close everything out strong. Remember that the contact information is up top with the name, the email address, and we also have office hours by request. Best way to request generally being email with some times that we can then meet, and then we can then meet by phone and or screen share software and work through any problems or questions in that format at that time. Scrolling down to week 5, the last week, the current week being the last week that we are in, we have the familiar layout with the objectives, the topics, the lessons. We will be covering just one chapter, chapter 25. Chapter 25 does, however, cover a lot of different types of topics because we're kind of doing a catch-all type of topics where we're looking at managerial topics and problems that are a bit more unusual, meaning the bigger types of decisions that managerial accounting tends to have to make, often being those types of decisions that have to do with longer periods of time that will be affected by the decisions, such as should we buy a new building, should we buy new equipment or just keep repairing the old equipment, should we process certain types of inventory further, or should we keep that type of inventory where it is at? Should we close down a department that is not as profitable as we expect it to be, or keep it in operations? These are the types of questions we'll be looking at. We'll be using our tools of time value and of money, as well as our tools of fixed costs and variable costs, breaking out costs in terms of fixed costs and variable costs to analyze these concepts. At first glance, these might seem like things that us as a beginning accountant in a department may not be looking at all the time, and that's going to be true. Obviously, we're not looking all the time at the decision-making process of should we close down a plant as a beginner in the accounting department. However, these are going to be time value of money decision-making processes, and they're also going to deal with processes that just have problems in the aggregate for large decisions, whether they be business decisions or personal decisions. So just being able to work through some of the common characteristics within these problems, because many of them do have common characteristics, those characteristics being a process that should be thought of, including time value of money into these types of decision-making processes. How can we go through a system to do that? Similar system can be used if we were thinking about buying a new car, if we were thinking about buying a house, or some of the larger decisions, saving for retirement. There's also going to be some types of, I guess, kind of fallacies in the way that we think. We've talked about the sunk cost fallacy, and these types of fallacies are things that cause problems in these particular kinds of decisions. And looking at the behavior of the cost can help us to avoid those problems, both in our decisions as well as within our professional business decisions. Remember that the discussions forums, we obviously have our same resources here, so you can click on these resources. These, I think, are going to be going through the books resources, and then you've got these resources down here. These are probably going to be a little bit shorter, so they might be quicker. Most of them will be on a separate channel, so if you wanted to copy and paste this URL and watch them away from Moodle Rooms without having to go through Moodle Rooms, you can do so. We also have audio lectures here, so you can click on the audio lectures, and currently they're linking to the playlist, so you're looking for the ones that have the 2500. Those are going to be the ones that will be related to this week. There's 2 of them, and those are going to be designed so that you can listen to them outside of without having to view it, so that you can be working on something else and listen to those. If you wanted to download them to the phone, you could go to iTunes and find the podcast and look for the number there, and you should be able to find it so you can listen to it on a commute. If you have some other phone, Stitcher is the podcast software that you can use there. And again, use that and download it for a walk or something like that. Might be useful. From the discussion forums on down, that's what we need to get done. Remember that the discussion forums are worth 21% of the grade. We've done great so far on the discussion forums. Just make sure to finish well here. Obviously, it's just you and I, Blanca, in the course here, so I know that's going to limit the discussions, but there's more than enough material, so I'm going to keep on posting a lot of questions here so that we can make sure that we finish and get full credit on those. We have the assignments, the homework, and the quizzes. And it looks like basically everything for this last week will be in McGraw-Hill's Connect other than the discussion questions. So go up to McGraw-Hill's Connect. We've got the layout that you have seen before. We've got the Learn Smarts, of course. And then we've got the problem and the worksheet. So just remember that you don't need to turn in these worksheets. You need to just work them using the instructional videos in order to be able to fill out the problems here. Also remember to check your work, use that check your work feature. And you can also turn in these problems and actually see a variation of the answers, but then you'd have to work the entire problem again in order to do that. But that's one way you can get some feedback automatically from the system, although you'd have to do the whole thing over. So just remember your tools there. Then, of course, we have the quiz, which is the final this time. Do not get a 0 on the final. Make sure to take the final by Sunday. If you run into a time constraint, that's probably worth the most points, so don't miss the final. We then have the end of the course survey. This is generally the instructor survey, so we do appreciate you taking the instructor survey. Remember what the instructor has control over and what they don't have control over. We have control over adding new resources, getting back to any questions, grading on time, being active in the discussion forums, and checking in with you in terms of how you're doing. We don't have as much influence or direct influence over what types of resources we're using in terms of third-party software like McGraw-Hill's Connect, the textbook, the general layout of the Moodle Rooms shell. If you have questions on those types of things, go ahead and put those into the comments in the survey, and we'll get those hopefully to the design team to check that stuff out. Remember that the gradebook up top is going to be the green item icon. You want to get the grades in there by the end of the mod here. Remember that we have to get everything done by the end of the mod. Don't have any leeway for late work at this time, so whether it be late work or current work in week 5, including the final, make sure to get it done by Sunday. Again, if you run into any kind of problems, then contact me immediately. The grades will be out of my hands by Tuesday. Therefore, before Tuesday, keep in contact. Let me know what's going on. Let me know if there are any problems, and we will handle them as soon as possible as they come up. If there is an unusual circumstance that happens to you at this last week, I don't think anything. I think you're going good, but note that there is a 2-week incomplete extension if we need to have it. So if you have any problems, we could look into that process. It doesn't always work. I don't recommend doing it unless it's a last case scenario, because it's only going to go through if there's an unusual circumstance, and even then there's going to be some restraints. But if something does happen, I want to let you know that that is available. So that's going to be it. So congratulations on being on the last week of probably the last class of the program. And so have a great week 5.